Howdy golfers， 我是 Jason。爱生活，爱上高尔夫，这就是获得4次中国10家高尔夫球场的口号——佛山高尔夫球会。这里举办过7届欧洲巡回赛挑战赛。今天高尔夫牛仔播客的嘉宾邀请到了这里的高尔夫总监 Rob Eastwood。Rob 在中国超过了10年，而且是英国 PGA 成员。现在跟我一起体验开心高尔夫之家佛山高尔夫球会。Howdy golfers, welcome to my podcast. I'm your host Jason. 欢迎来到高尔夫牛仔播客，我是 Jason。我们今天在非常美丽的佛山高尔夫球会。今天的来宾呢，也是我们英国 PGA 成员，他也是在佛山高尔夫球会的高尔夫总监。我们欢迎一下我们的 Rob Eastwood。Hi
Jason. Hi. Welcome to Foshan Golf Club. Good to see you.
How'd you end up in Foshan Golf Club? It's a beautiful place.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, look at this backdrop, right? This is the 9th and the 18th hole, double green. The green's 100 yards long or wide, right? It's amazing. It's beautiful.
I mean, most importantly, this is also the home of Happy Golf.
Yeah, so, at the beginning of COVID in 2020, my previous GM, he created the home of Happy Golf, right? He wanted to make it family orientated, right? Because there's a lot of families living in Canton First Estate. So in Canton First Estate, it's 3 million square meters. We've got around 5,000 apartments and villas. So there's a lot of people living here. We've got Canton International House, which is a leisure club with a swimming pool, indoor pool, outdoor pool, gym, indoor basketball court, badminton,
everything.
Yeah, it's great. So there's a big community.
Wow, nicely. So when did you start, and how did you end up in this place?
So I came here to take the role in January this year. The previous director of golf retired. He was here for around 10 years, and I've known about Foshan Golf Club for quite a long time because of the Foshan Open. Right, that was here from 2013. And, for me, I've been teaching a lot, mainly teaching the last few years, but I've also been involved in other clubs in operations as well. And so I felt the time was right to take on this role, right, in my career at this moment.
How long have you been in China for?
I got here in 2011, July.
So at least almost 13 years, almost 14.
Yeah, it was interesting how that came about. But yeah, I mean, I love it, right? China's been very, very good to me. I've enjoyed everything about it. It's been very good.
What was that decision like? Why China? And how did you come about to stay this long?
Well, I didn't plan didn't know how long I was going to stay, but I think golf in China is developed and grown very quickly, especially through the pandemic we recently went through. A lot of new people playing golf because it's developing and because it's still people are interested and there's lots of things to still happen. It's just a nice place to work. It's a wonderful place to be, right?
Let's go a little bit into your golf personally. We'll come back to Foshan Golf Club, but I want to know a little bit more about your golf background. How did your story all start?
When did I started playing golf? When I was 10 years old, in the north of England, and it was just a couple of friends of mine at the time. We were just playing on a local park, right, with cut down clubs, right, because at that time there wasn't really many junior clubs available, right. We had to use adult clubs. Cut, shortened, and so one day we were on the local park, and there was an old man walked across the park, and he was 82 years old. I found out, and he used to be a scratch player, and he walked across and he said, "I've seen you boys playing golf recently. I used to be a good player, and I'd like to pass on some knowledge and teach you guys for free if you allow it." Right. So here's my details and give them to your parents, and if you're interested, let me know, right? And then my other two friends, they didn't follow up, but I went home and I said, "Mum, Dad, this, what do you think?" Yeah. Right? And at the time I was playing a lot of cricket and football and basketball, but I kind of seemed to take to golf okay.
Okay.
My parents didn't play. Nobody ever.
Nobody in the family.
Nobody has a history of playing golf in my family.
You were the first.
I was the first. So what he did is he taught me for 18 months every Saturday. At his house, right behind his house, he had his lawn. He'd made into a putting green.
Okay.
And then he had a net, which he'd made out of a steel frame.
Okay.
And then pinned like at coal sacks.
Yeah.
Where those black Hessian kind of material.
Yeah.
And he'd made a golf net, right? And then for the hitting mat, he used a doormat, right? And then he taught me.
So this wasn't even at a driving range or at a golf club or anything. This was at his backyard.
And he taught me every Saturday for 18 months. And then he sadly passed away. And his name was Jim Wilkinson. Still remember. And and then I joined a local golf club as a junior member when I was about 11 and a half.
11 and a half.
And we had a good junior section. We had one of the members used to look after the junior section, and we had maybe 10 to 15 juniors, and he arranged competitions for us every weekend, and we set up a junior golf league that we played at other golf clubs in the area. And that was good. And we had a junior captain, and all the thing, right? It was
Tell us how that was like, and did that affect how you kind of drew up a lot of the programs, the junior programs, when you came over to China? Did that have an effect on you?
A little bit. I think it was a little bit different time back then. It was 1984, right, when I started playing golf. So it wasn't expensive to get golf lessons, but it wasn't the same as it is today. It wasn't in the north of the UK. There wasn't the academies that you have out here. You could join and learn how to play with other juniors, really, right? It was more a small kind of personal thing. But coming out here, I learned a lot from being out here. Yeah. Right, in the last few years, especially with where my job has taken me to understand about how we do junior programs more that way.
We'll come back to that junior program because I think that's a big part of what you do here and how you develop the next generation of juniors in China. I want to go back to when you were a junior, and when you were growing up. Did you ever think you would turn professional?
What happened was I got down to single figures by I was like 14, 15 years old.
Did you practice a lot?
I was, I mean, in summer holidays, we had 6-7 weeks off school. And my parents would drop me off at the golf club at 8 o'clock in the morning and pick me up at 8 o'clock at night. Right?
Very similar to what I had to do in the summer.
I know. In fact, my parents actually never saw me hit a golf shot.
Okay.
In their life. Never saw me hit. They just left me to it. Right? They didn't stand over me watching me. They didn't push me. At the time, I was playing a lot of other sports, and actually by the time I was 13, 14, I was playing a lot of cricket, and I wasn't sure whether I'd follow a career in that sport. But I started swinging the cricket bat like a golf club, and my father said to me, "Look, I think you got to choose here because it's not they don't mix, right? Okay. It's hard for the sports to mix. It's difficult." So I chose golf, and we just focused on that one sport. Right, and then I got down to 1 and 2 handicap, pretty good. Shot my first level par round when I was 15 in a competition, in the howling wind and North England weather, using persimmon woods.
Wow!
Right, there was no metal woods, so they just started to come through in the late 80s. They were really small, the metal woods, right?
Yeah.
And so it, at that point, I was 15. The golf pro at the club said, if you when you finish school, I'm looking for an assistant pro. If you fancy it, if you want to do it, come and speak to me. Do the PGA training program. And then I thought, well, that's interesting. At that time, my father was in the fire service. He was quite high up in the fire brigade, and I was going to go down that career.
Oh, you almost became a firefighter?
Yeah, but because I knew it, and that was his life, and that came into our family life, right? But at the time, I was short-sighted. I had to wear glasses, and of course, at the time, you couldn't go through your training in the fire service unless you had 20/20 vision.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they use a lot of the breathing apparatus and
okay.
and you can't wear glasses or contact lenses.
Yeah,
right?
just in case you swing your head around and your glasses come off or something.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
quickly, that was not an option at the time. So I finished school when I was 15, and I remember speaking to the careers advisor that came into the high school in England and said, what are you thinking about doing? And I said, well, I'm thinking about turning pro at golf and becoming a golf pro. And he just laughed.
Uh-oh.
He laughed, and I was like, oh. He said, why don't you do something proper, like a proper job, like become an engineer or something, right? Do something like at that time in the north of England, it was a different place, right?
Yeah.
And I just didn't think anything of it until much later.
Why do you think that was? Was it the golf scene?
I just don't think he understood what it was about.
He didn't play golf, did he?
Didn't understand what it was about, and opportunities. At that time, there was people, good players going to the States and doing golf scholarships, etc. Right, like Luke Donald went there, didn't he? And Colin Montgomery and these people. So it was very, very, very rare to get follow that pathway. Right, the people that were around me in my life didn't know about that, so it was never really brought into the equation. Right, so I turned pro. Got paid £33 a week salary.
Wow.
Which was
That's very different from nowadays.
1991, and started my PGA training in 1992.
Did somebody suggest that? You mentioned.
Yeah, the golf pro where I was a junior member.
Yeah.
He'd seen me play and he thought I was I was okay, and he had a spot that he was looking for somebody.
Yeah.
And he offered me the chance to start, right? So I just did it.
Let's talk about your training, because it's
It's
very different from what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, before 1992 there was no internet and no. I mean, I didn't get my first mobile phone until I was 21, so that was 95, right? So we went to Lilleshall National Sports Centre in Shropshire, and it wasn't even at the Belfry at that point. It didn't go to the Belfry until January of 96 to do the training.
Which is now the new headquarters.
The headquarters of the PGA, and so I never went to the Belfry until a few years ago, because I'd never had a reason to go.
Yeah.
Although I've been a PGA member, fully qualified since 1995, and an assistant in training in 1992. So that's what happened there, and the training was, we had to do golf teaching and theory of a golf swing, and we had to do club repairs, we had to do business studies, commercial studies I think it was called, and we did rules of golf, right? So every year we did a residential course for a week down at the National Training Centre.
Yeah.
And then we'd work at the golf club and we'd do the assignments, the coursework.
The assignments had to be mailed
Yeah.
to the house, right? This is pre-internet days.
You had to go to the post office.
You had to go to the post office
Yeah.
to pick it up?
Yeah. And mail
To
it.
send it in?
Yeah. And it was obviously all handwritten. We didn't have computers to type anything out, or we were using typewriters. This is that
So you
back
couldn't
then.
you had to type
We had
it up.
no, we had to write it, handwrite
Handwrite
it. Yeah.
Typewriters.
We couldn't use typewriter.
Couldn't use typewriters.
But that's what was around back then.
Right.
We used to have landlines in the house, right?
So what
To pick up the
happens-
phone and call people.
What happens if you mail it in and the post office gets the later?
Well, you could send recorded delivery, right? So it had to be signed for.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
yeah.
But as long as
We were
the
that far
post is
advanced.
before.
We were that far advanced.
Oh wow, that's very different. Because when I did my
Yeah.
qualifications, everything is online. You turn it in online.
Yeah.
You've got your coursework online, and
So you're
that's why I
typing it
was
out on the
able-
computer, right? In
Yeah,
Word
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, yeah?
But that's why I was able to do it out here.
Yeah.
I didn't need to go to the UK and get it mailed. I mean, I couldn't imagine if I was still getting mail
It wouldn't go.
China.
It would take months to get there, right? Back then,
and back.
right?
And back.
You'd never get it done in time.
So
Yeah.
did you notice a change in kind of the coursework from back then to nowadays? Is it easier, harder?
It's a lot more content now. When I was in my first job in China, I was in a golf club in Shenzhen, and I was cooperating with the British PGA a little bit. I was doing some invigilating for their exams.
Okay.
I would look at some of the work, and there was a lot more detail right now. Back then it was tough because we only knew what we knew, right? There was no TrackMan, or there was no...
It was also John Jacobs was kind of the
Yeah,
author of our program, wasn't he?
Yeah, there's an interesting story about John Jacobs, yeah. He was really a catalyst, yeah, for teaching golf. That he just really grew from some of the things he did, yeah.
'Cause I think a lot of what we have to learn now, whether it's ball flight laws, pre-swing, in-swing principles, and impact factors, and all that stuff that we had to get trained on, that kind of developed off of what John Jacobs did.
Yeah, we had no video. Well, we had video cameras, but they were those big things where they put the big cassettes in. The VHS cassettes.
Yes.
There was no video in like is today. So we had to learn ball flight laws. We had to look at the ball flight and then work out from that ball flight what the swing was doing, what was happening with the swing, and why it was happening with the swing. So it was a good grounding to learn about golf.
That to me, I think, was a big eye-opener, because I think when I grew up and I started playing golf, video cameras and everything, I mean, there were still camcorders. They're not the shoulder ones, but now they're still hand kind of camcorders, nothing on the phone or iPad. iPads, I don't think were invented then. But even then, I started playing golf with video and everything. But then it was interesting because when I did my training, it was no videos. It was all back to basics and fundamentals, ball flights. And then the video only was to confirm your diagnosis. And to me, that was kind of the biggest takeaway I got from that, because I think nowadays, if you just rely on video so much, well, I mean, look at Jim Furyk's swing, right?
Yeah, somebody once said that to me. He said, "What do you think about Jim Furyk's swing? It's really bad, isn't it?" And I said, "I wish mine was as bad." This guy's been hugely successful.
Yes.
Right. I think there's always more than we know. There's more than one way to hit a golf ball. There's certain very important positions we know that we have to try and get into to be consistent, right? But it's all relative to where you want golf to take your life, right? Or what you want golf to influence, how you want it to influence your life. But yeah, back then we would go out when I was teaching, I would go out onto the practice ground, right, with a bag of practice ball bag of golf balls, and we would say, right, aim at that tree, hit a few balls, watch the ball flight, whether he's thinned it, topped it, hit it fat, right, sliced it, hooked it, and then you'd have to stand back and say, okay, give me a minute, let me think about this, what's going on here, right? And how do I get in? Because when you ask every golfer, you say, what do you want the ball to do, right? They all say they want to hit it straight.
Yes.
That is the most difficult shot, right? With all your golf clubs, to hit a perfectly straight ball. So, that's why these days we can manage people's expectations differently, right? Through the information we have that we didn't have back then. So yeah, it was a very interesting time in the 90s.
I think you mentioned a very, very interesting point, because even my teaching in the last few years, it's the same question and it's the same answer you get from years ago as well. I want to hit it straight. But as you said, yeah.
No one says they want to hit it short.
No. But hitting a straight shot is the world's hardest shot, because once it's off by a little bit, it's a miss.
I had a junior in Beijing when I was working in Beijing a couple of years ago, 9-year-old student, good player. And I said, I put him on GC Quad, the launch monitor there, and he was swinging a bit inside out, 3 or 4 degrees inside out. And he said, what do I need to do to hit it straight? I said, we need to swing less inside out, right? Get it close to zero. And then he worked it a little bit, 0 degree path, and he got a 0 degree path in the lesson. And I said, there you go, that's fantastic, right? I said, but just remember, that's really difficult. Why? I can do it. And so he had a really positive idea, right? But obviously, we know it's not going to be the same case, right?
I think what a lot of people don't understand is if you get it as close to zero as you can, you've almost got a two-way miss now as well, right? Because if you get it slightly one way or the other, you've really got a two-way miss. Whereas if you play with one shot or one shape, you take out half the course. It makes it.
I think it's very important for amateur golfers to work on the strengths, right? What's the easiest thing for them to do to get the best result, right? To enjoy the golf.
I was like that as a kid. I didn't understand that until I was a lot older. That look, golf is just a lot easier if you just have one shape that you like and you stick to it. And then under pressure situations, you have a go-to shot.
Well, yeah. When I was a junior, I used to hit. I didn't hit very far, and I then I developed this strong left-hand grip to try and hit hook shots to try and get more distance. So now I've been all my golfing life. I've been fighting this strong grip, and I've learned how to grip it properly. I've learned how to do a good takeaway. I've learned how to do other things, and yet it doesn't stay forever, right? It keeps bad habits always come into a golfer, right? For whatever reason, right? And so I think managing their strengths and saying, I think it's easier for the way that your body works. Probably a draw is an easier shot. Yeah. Don't try and do something that's really difficult, because the amateur golfers don't have the working guys and ladies, right? It's only a very small amount of time they can spend on golf compared to all the other things in their life. But they have such high expectations, right? Yeah.
That is a big one, and we'll go a little more into that. So tell me about your professional career. So you qualified.
Okay. Qualified in '95.
And then you stayed in the UK.
Stayed in the UK. Had got my first club pro job in '97 at a members club in the northwest of England. I did that for 2 years, and then I moved to another club a little bit, still in the northwest, but a little bit further away, at another members club, and I was the head pro there till 2001. At the beginning of, the end of year 2000, beginning of 2001, there was in Manchester, there was a big development called Trafford Park. Trafford Park had a big shopping centre, right? It has 1 million visitors a week now. It's got around 300 to 400 stores in there, right? Multi-level. And they built a driving range within this Trafford Park, and it's next to, it's not far from Old Trafford, Manchester United's football ground, right? So I was asked by the director of golf there to whether I wanted to join the team to be a full-time coach. So I was leaving a club pro's job with a salary and doing some lessons and doing the pro shop, right? And I went to look at the facility. It had 64 bays, 2-tier range, brand new. And I looked at it and I decided to give it a go. And back then, we didn't get any salary. We had to do our teaching, so we had to build our business. So every day I'd be working 12 to 14 hours. We'd start 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 at night. And we'd be going around the bays and talking to people, giving our offer, our half hour free lesson offer. If you take an hour, you get half an hour free. Yeah. Book them in and sell them lesson packages and help them develop the golf, right? It was good because a lot of times, a lot of male golfers went there at that time. I think if they traveled with the wife would prefer to go in the shopping mall maybe and buy some things, and the guy, every time I used to go to a shopping mall in England, I used to see a lot of guys just stood outside the shop with shopping bags.
They're just holding it.
Waiting, right? And
there's a line of them.
Yeah, and all the ladies are in the shop buying, right? So I think when that golf range opened, I think a lot of the men thought, I'm going to go over there and learn golf. But it was, I started there in 2001 in January. And we built up, there was 4 of us, and we built up a student base of 20,000 plus golfers in about 4 years. And at that time we were doing half an hour lessons as well as hour lessons. So it was but it was probably 50% of both.
How many coaches did you have on
Four.
You had
No,
four.
I didn't. I was one of the team. There was a
Okay.
director of golf, and then there was three of us that working to do the coaching, and he was coaching, and he would write all the lesson programs. And he would do some training with us about how we can teach certain things in the golf swing. But I'd already been teaching since 1992 at that point, right? So I did that for 4 years. Met a lot of amazing people. Because Manchester United was very close, we used to get a lot of the football players coming into the driving range in the afternoons to practice golf, play golf. I ended up teaching a few of the guys, getting to know them. That was good, and not just from Manchester United, from other football teams as well. A lot of them lived around that area.
Who was the biggest one you remember? Are you at liberty to say?
Well, I don't want to mention names, but there was a very good friend of mine who played for Manchester United called Diego Forlan. Forlan, Diego was from Uruguay, and he was playing in 2003. He was playing for Manchester United, and at that time it was David Beckham, Paul Scholes, Roy Keane. It was that crowd, right, of Manchester United. They were a very successful team back then, but they only worked from 9 a.m. till 12.
Okay.
Training and then the weekends they play the matches, right?
Yeah.
So after lunch, they nothing to do. So a lot of them came and practiced golf. So I ended up spending time with him. I got his handicap down from 16 to about an 8 handicap. And I spent time in Spain at his villa with him. Used to go and play golf there with him. Used to teach his brother. Used to teach his agent and a couple of his friends and other players that that were around that time.
That's interesting because I remember 2014, I think, when Mission Hills had their celebrity pro-am. A lot of the Man United guys were invited over. And I was quite surprised how good their swing was.
Amazing. They're very fit guys, right? Like, they all had good postures because they all had very good core strength.
Quick swing speed.
Yeah, they had good technique. Yeah. They really were. There were some good players. They just, Diego wanted to just come in quietly and not really be recognized and have no fuss. Those guys were very famous in that area.
They're heroes, aren't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was, because he scored against Liverpool, right, at Liverpool. And ever since he did that, the fans loved him. So, but there was a few. Won't mention any others. It was good. Used to teach at the time the chairman of Manchester United as well, who's now honorary life president, who's there still. So yeah, it was good times. That's what golf does, right? It brings so many interesting people into your life.
That's right. So it sounded like you had a really interesting gig there.
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, we were doing 6 days a week and 14 hours a day. I'd be teaching from 8 until 10, 8 in the morning till 10 in the evening. Then I'd be driving an hour to get home. So
you gave that up, and then you came to China, or?
No, I was in Manchester till 2011, but we moved from there to another place. Okay. Another opportunity came, and we followed that. Right, a couple of us went to a different. Two of us went to one place. Another 2 guys went to another place, and did that until China came on the cards. Let's
go into that a little bit more. How did this China opportunity come about? And
so in my final exams of the PGA in '95, it was a 3-day exam, and I shared a room with Andrew Smith, who's been on your podcast, who's a very good friend of ours, right?
And he's been here for a long time.
He's been here since '98. And I saw an article in the PGA magazine about him in China, and I was curious, so I contacted him. And I hadn't spoke to him since we did our exams, because he's been out here. And I had a chat with him. He said, you've got to look at, this is amazing out here. It's so many opportunities to develop golf. If you're looking for a new opportunity, I would seriously consider it. And I came out to see him, to have a look. We were going to do an academy at Genzon, which is now called Hidden Grace. at that time, but it didn't work out. So, but at that time I came out and I was like, this is great, I've got to go and give this a try, right? Now, obviously at the time, I had 2 young children, and I came out and I said, right, let's have a look at this. Came out to do the academy in the July of 2011. After 4 days, I think it was, we had some bad news that the opportunity had fallen through, because the GM of the golf club at the time had left, and for whatever reason, our deal fell through. Right, I don't know much more than that. But I had a return ticket booked at Christmas, at December. So I thought, wow, what do I do now? So.
And this was which month? July. So you had half a year essentially.
Well, before, it was interesting because I'll go back to that story about how my experience coming into China in a minute, because that, for anyone who's here, working in China from abroad, or anyone who's thinking about coming, there's some interesting things to think about, right? But so I did a few. Andrew and one of his business partners at the time, we went to a couple of different driving ranges, and we worked with a couple of golf society groups to try and promote some golf lessons and do this. And we tried to do that for a bit and try and find a new facility. Of course, it's difficult. Yeah. Back then, there's a lot more people teaching golf now than there was back then. Actually, local, Chinese coaches, which is great, right? I think in around the September time, I've been here a couple of months, and 2 or 3 months, and then I met the general manager of Sealy Golf Club, Mark, who we know, and very nice guy, and me and Andrew got an opportunity to use that as a base to do some teaching, and then it grew. My career started to grow from there.
And that's almost the same time where we met.
Yeah.
Where we met around 2013, 2014, around that time.
Yeah, I mean, I'd done 2 years, and Andrew had moved on to do another project, and so my role I got expanded, right? I went from just doing some lessons to managing the pro shop, to assisting the golf ops team, to working on some projects for the club, and some caddy training, and tournament organizations, right? For the club. And so I really learned a lot in that time. I was there for 10 years. And when I met you, 2013, we'd just come off a course, 9-hole course renovation. We did all one of the 9 holes there. We did all the green complexes. So I was involved in that. And in my time there, I was involved in a little bit in the irrigation installation of all the 36 holes. I wasn't, we had a team in there doing all the new main lines and lateral, and all the greens, all the sprinklers and everything. So that was interesting to learn about that. But I was always trying to learn about the grass, the course maintenance. We had a good team, right? So I'll be very interested in what's this green, what's the grass the grass on the green and the fairways and the maintenance and why it's important, and
So you're expanding your horizon more than just a teaching coach, essentially.
Mowing.
Expanding your horizon.
Yeah.
More than just a teaching coach.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it, which is why, bringing back to Foshan, the opportunity came to do exactly that, to, oversee the golf operations, control the golf academy, and do the teaching, and assist with the GCM team, as I'm doing now, with the course maintenance, playability of it, and members events here, right? So it was just a good opportunity and a good fit to bring my experience to it.
That's awesome. And you mentioned before that China also changed how you coached as well. Could we go a little bit more into that? We'll come back to Foshan. I know we're itching to come back to how you run the club and everything, but I kind of want to go a little bit more into kind of your coaching?
So that was really when I left Sealy and I saw an opportunity with the PGA in Mission Hills, and obviously the director of golf, Kevin, very lucky to spend 9 or 10 months with him, like shadowing him and spending time with him on his coaching, and that really changed the way I do teach now. It really elevated my outlook and knowledge. Right, I mean that was a very important time, which I'll be always appreciative for. Right.
Yeah, that was quite an important time for me as well, in terms of my not just my professional career, but teaching career as well. As you said, he's someone that I think was highly respected in and out, and we learned a lot off of him. But 9 months versus by that time you were teaching for more than 15, 16 years. What was the biggest change, and what was the biggest switch?
I think when I've been since Manchester, and I've been in China for those 10 years. I've been on my own pretty much, right? Just teaching the members. We didn't do a lot of junior teaching. It was more adult members, on course lessons, and just basic things like course strategy and how you play different lies on the course, right? A lot of the members didn't want swing changes,
Right.
That because they were like older age, right? So they were just going there to just get exercise. I mean, and play. I used to teach a gentleman who was 90 years old in Sealy, and he just wanted to come and just remember how to play that lie and that ball position, and he enjoyed just spending time with me, right, on the course. So I kind of got into this routine, and then I went to the PGA and watched what happened within the academy, right, which was great. I mean, great to be around your peers, right?
Yeah.
And learn. So I think still learning today. I think that's the thing about our job, isn't it? Our life. We should never, stop learning and our small ego, right? Just put it aside and admit that there's always more to learn, right? And I know Kevin's exactly the same. He would say exactly the same, even at his position in his career at the moment. So I just took off the whatever armor or whatever I'd been living in for the previous 10 years and before that as well, and just said I'm going to learn as much as possible. And it really got me here. It's another step to get you to where you're going, isn't it?
Yeah, because I know you had a few setbacks when we were working together.
Yeah, but you look at what you take out of things.
Yeah.
It's okay, right? It really elevated me. I ended up going to Beijing to a very good golf club there, in the Players Club, and ran a team of coaches up there, and had some really good results. In that summer of 2023, I had 8 juniors that won multiple times, like more, 2 or 3 times each that summer. Through the coaching I'd learned from the foundation that I had early in my career to the boost, if you will, or the fresh outlook with when I worked with the PGA for 3 years, and that's a very valuable time, right? So now I'm bringing that into Foshan, into our junior golf team, ladies team, and all the individual lessons I'm doing, and that's really made a big difference to how I teach golf and how I run the academy.
Let's talk about Foshan Golf Club, because now we're here and made a few changes. I think you were mentioning before that, the golf team, the junior golf team that you have. Yeah. You have interviews now.
Yeah, we've got 18 juniors. It's been running for, I think, 7 years. At the beginning, there's a lot of young juniors, like 5, 6, 7-year-old. Now there's a lot of juniors that have stayed on the team, and now the teenagers, and the golf has got pretty good. So back then, the concept was just to introduce juniors to golf, created a team environment where they could meet other juniors, play together, practice together, learn together. Amazing, because there's not many golf courses in that I know of out here that does that, right? The previous 2 clubs I worked at didn't do that, so I know that, and it's not a common thing. So as the junior program was renewed in June every year, in May this year I sat down with all the parents of all the junior team members, and we've got 18 juniors.
These are individual meetings?
Yeah. One-on-one with mum and dad, or dad, whoever was available. And I just said, what is your expectation on this team? What do you think about how it's working? Right, I need to get your feedback, because what I want to do is put more weight into the program, put more accountability on the kids if this is the way to go, right? About how they practice and how they improve, as we all know, right? They've got to want to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Internally.
Yeah. They've got to love it. The desire's got to be strong, right? So, yeah, sat down with them all for over a few weeks. Got a lot of feedback. They're all quite happy, but as I said, the juniors that started just trying to see if it was happy golf, right? They started playing competitions. They're now thinking about pathway to college, right?
They're getting older as well.
As a career in golf.
Yeah.
So, and I felt like that really gave me a good insight into the mindset, right, of the families. So my program then, I could tailor it and make it a little bit more specific to their needs as well. And then bring them in, like include them into the situation, not keep them on the outside looking in, bring them on the inside, as a good support network for what we do here, right? Myself and I have 2 local coaches. We do that training for free. Obviously the juniors, they pay something annually to be involved, but it's not a big amount. The golf club here, we subsidize the cost a little bit. We don't charge them too much, and we give them a lot of support, right? Our intention is obviously to grow this junior golf into a tradition and a good culture in Foshan. And then, the juniors that are allowed to be in it are junior members and academy students, right? And the families of the homeowners, right? They can come and qualify for a place. So I held a qualifying event because we had 3 spaces available. And that was good. They had to do a certain golf test, right? Hitting drivers and 7-irons and pitch shots, and they get points for accuracy and distance. And then we got 18 juniors, and we started again at the end of June, early July.
That sounds like a very familial kind of vibe or environment, right? Where it's family oriented and community oriented, right? Is it? Can you describe something about what your kind of biggest takeaway is so far?
Good question, isn't it? In what respect? From the
I guess from the community aspect.
Yeah, here we've got, it's a big community, isn't it? Canton First Estate is 3 million square meters of property. As I said, we've got a lot of homeowners here, members. I think the biggest thing I see here is the family feeling that but this is the home of happy golf, and our mission and motto is love life, love golf, right? We're all lucky people, so love life, love golf. And to get to see families come together, right? Because golf is not about what score you make, right? It's about the friends you make through it. That's really what
it's always a process that you go through, right? Like the result, a lot of times you can't control that. Yeah. We all want to shoot under. We all want to, not make mistakes on the golf course, but just like how life works, it doesn't work that way sometimes, right?
Yeah, it's given me a lot of this career has given me a lot of satisfaction in helping people. Mm-hmm. If you can touch someone's life and make it better in whatever way, then I think that's very rewarding, huh? In a person's life.
That's why we teach. That's why we teach.
I've never found it difficult or tiring, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the hours are tiring sometimes, but the actual helping people, I've always loved it.
That's the passion, right? When you're passionate about something, you don't.
And it feels good to be, to do leadership, right? It feels good to mentor people and pass on your experience. And I think that comes back to where, when I first started, all those years ago, with that guy who came on the park and saw me. And he wanted to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Passing it forward to the next generation. That's awesome.
That's what I get out of it. That's what I see here, I see them develop. And I'm going to see them develop, hopefully, for the next, 10 years or more. That's my plan.
So let's go into that plan a little bit. I know Home of Happy Golf. Yep. Describe that a little more in depth for us.
Home of Happy Golf was started, as I said, at the beginning of COVID.
Yep.
To try and bring, a family influence into the golf club, to grow the next generation. There's a lot of young people around. We have a lot of members events. We create a very enjoyable experience. Every event, we get a lot of people participating. 80 to 100 people in these events, which is great. And obviously my previous GM who was here started the culture.
It is quite interesting. I think something that you mentioned in part of that culture was it's not just for the members or the patrons that are coming to play here. Your goal is to make it the best place to work as well.
Yeah, I'm currently what I'm doing now is the Home of Happy Golf. We're trying to spread that message down into the staff of the golf club as well, right? So I've got in my team, I've got around 158 staff. I've got 141 caddies, and marshals and starter control and operations team, right? Very good people, and so in the caddy room, right? We've got the Home of Happy Caddies now, right? So we're trying to create that message to say, look, we want you to feel part of this. Again, it's not just the members and the guests and etc. on the outside, right, coming to play golf, but we want the staff to feel part of something.
How'd you implement that? What would you do differently?
So we just through the training and through the culture in the caddy room. So now when we do the caddy graduations every year with new caddies, we do presentations, we give them certificates, we get photos, we put them on the walls. I did caddy training yesterday for 50 caddies. I'll do another 50 caddy training tomorrow. It's videoed, it's photoed, it's put all around the caddy room, right? So they're all exposed to it. So when they walk in, there's a sign above the door, there's signs going out, right? About, be part of this culture, this story. That's what I'm trying to do is include them in the feeling, give them the feeling.
And what's your goal, let's say, in the next 5 years?
Keep building, keep improving, and making this even stronger place to come and play golf and work, right? To be part of that. As I said, my previous GM did an amazing job in his time here until he retired, and then I learned a lot from him in the short time I worked with him. And so, for me to have a part to play in a place like this, right? So people to look back and say, it was Rob his heart was good, and he looked after us, and he led us to do better, right? I think that makes me feel good.
It's the experience and the journey, right?
Makes me feel good. I don't want to sit here and just come to work and go home and do nothing else, right? I want to create the story. I want to create the feeling of a place.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's so cool. So you mentioned something that you guys go to the schools, or like the preschools? Yeah,
we have a kindergarten in the community, and it's only 3 to 5 year olds, right? So we do every year we do in the spring and in the autumn we do coaching down there. There's 60 kids in that school. 90% of the children live in the community in Canton First Estate, and it's a voluntary thing we do.
And you guys do that once a week?
Once a week for a 6-week period. It starts next week. And on a Friday morning for an hour. And we we bring the young ones in, the next ones, the middle ones, the 3-year-olds, the 4-year-olds, the 5-year-olds. There's about 15 or 20 in each group, and they come in and they do 20 minutes, and we have a few different stations set up, right? Fitness station for exercise, jumping with the ball, or passing the ball to each other, or hopping on one leg, or to create the balance and agility that you need in golf. It's all golf specific, right?
Right.
And the chipping and the putting and the swing. And we do it. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, we have a school make a big presentation, award ceremony. They all get the photos. I stand on the stage and, invite all the parents, and they can see what the kids have been doing. And yeah, it's great. It really is. And it's just very close to here.
And is that only for the residents that are here, or anybody in that school?
Anybody
in that school. And you do that for free. Yeah. That's quite charitable.
Yeah, it's good, right? It's good to be involved in something like that. There's a lot of families living here, so we want to open that opportunity for them to get into golf.
For sure. And as you said, right, like after COVID, and I think the reward that you get back from the kids wanting to learn golf, or they're happy after a golf session, is invaluable, right? Like, you can't put a price tag on that.
No, golf's got a lot more exciting, hasn't it?
Yeah.
For young people.
Yeah.
Now, from what happens now.
Especially, I think, after COVID. I think worldwide, I think a lot more people have gotten more involved with golf. I know when I was playing, it was sort of on the decline. I think it was getting less and less popular. But I think after COVID, or during COVID, it started picking up, everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, golf in the 50s and 60s was a wealthy person's game, right? In the UK, for sure. You had to be, have a good job and have some money and, high in society and, all these things, right? That was the culture.
Yeah.
You had to wear a jacket and tie when you went in the clubhouse.
You still had to wear a collared. It was a button up. It's not even a polo. Yeah. It was a button up.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing my junior competitions in the UK, and when you went to prize giving, you had to wear a jacket and tie as a 13 or 14-year-old junior. And some golf clubs in the UK still have that tradition.
Yeah.
A lot less nowadays, I think, as generation has changed.
Would you say you're a traditionalist or a modernist?
Modernist. I'd like to keep the tradition alive in some respects, but I'm happy to move on with the new times. Right, you can't stand still.
Yeah, develop with the game, right?
It's crazy now. I mean, look at the social media aspect has changed everything. Right.
Oh yeah.
Mobile phones.
That's changed a lot too.
Yeah, 1995 I got the brick. It was this big, right? And then you'd talk to somebody on the phone. Yeah, you'd talk to someone and you go, you're breaking up. Can you hear me? And they'd go, no. I said, hang on. Pull the aerial out. You go, is that better? Not really. It was funny, but it was life. Yeah?
Times have changed.
Oh, yeah. Times have changed.
Now you can wear sweatshirts.
Hoodies. You couldn't wear hoodies back in that day, could you?
Oh, you couldn't wear it, I think, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That changed, I think, during the Ryder Cup.
Well, yeah, it changed. I remember it changed in the BMW in Wentworth too.
Yeah.
When Tyrrell Hatton wore a hoodie, and he won that time. Yeah, I remember that.
That was blasphemy back in the day, no?
Yeah, now it's.
It wouldn't be allowed in the club.
Yeah, I mean, its fashion has changed. It's good because it's golf's not seen as an old man's game anymore, is it? Mm-hmm. Because it used to be. When I was starting out.
Yeah.
I remember I used to stand because there was no mirrors, right, in the golf club when I was a junior. So we finished playing golf and used to stand in front of the clubhouse and see our reflection in the clubhouse window, and we'd be looking at our golf swings, and we'd look at Ben Hogan swing and Nick Faldo and Seve Ballesteros and and John Jacobs, right, of all those that time, and we'd be trying to look in the mirror. Am I swinging like these people? And I remember all the men in the clubhouse would like knock on the window and like, hey, what are you doing? Right, you showing off. What are you trying to do? I don't know. We're trying to do it right, and then we got okay players at it. Yeah.
I played with Ballesteros' cousin when he came to China that one time. His nephew, not cousin. Yeah. In the Winter Series.
Yes.
In the Winter Series, you ran that for a little while.
That was a great time. Yeah, Ivan's an amazing guy, right?
Yeah.
To meet him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sevi was my biggest golfing hero when I was growing up. He
inspired a lot of guys.
He was just amazing.
Passionate about the sport.
Yeah, and if I was going to play golf with somebody, that would be him first. If I could choose now, if you could turn back the clock, right?
Yeah.
He would be the one I would tee it up with immediately. Really.
That's awesome.
And so the Winter Series, that was in 2012 or 2013.
Yeah, it started around that time.
Matthew Davis came over, represented the PGA, British PGA, and tried to network the guys on the ground here, right? Create some network for us to get together, get to know each other, playing some events. For the trainees at that time,
I did the same thing. I did the program.
it was you had to do your playing ability, right? You had to put a certain amount of scores in within par. I think it was in 4 of par or 3 of par, right?
Yeah.
To have a score to count towards passing your course. So he built this, introduced this, and he stayed for I think 2 or 3 years. And then at that time, I was happy to help out and take it on and try to keep it going. And then since I did that for like 4.5 years, and then it went to Matt Pryke, and he did a great job. And now with James, he's doing a great job.
Still passing the torch.
We are like, just trying to do our bit. I think just trying to, character, and golf gives you that as an adult, a young adult, right? It instills a lot of good ethics and good morals, right? And that's what we're trying to do with the juniors of today, right? Not only make them good golfers, but make them good people. Help them become good people.
That's right.
For them to be able to use that to influence the future life, whether it's in work, golf, whatever.
It's interesting because I did a podcast with Maggie, and she does a lot of the college placements. And something that stood out to me was, a lot of the college coaches, they all know you play well, but what makes you, what puts your name on the roster or not, if you make the team or not, is your character, right?
Yeah.
They interview you, they ask how the parents are as well. It's not just the player, but how your family is. So what you mentioned there about ethics and your upbringing, that has a lot to do with what your life is going to be afterwards as well. And I think that's also why, for me, this is called More Than Golf, is because of that. It is more than golf, right? It's not just looking pretty when you swing. It's not just scoring in golf, but it's a lot of the character, is building that character. I think that's more important than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you got to care, right?
Yeah.
People that care and that are considerate, care about others, care about themselves, of course, care about others as well, and happy to help and influence people's lives for the better. Then that's what makes this game so great to be in, right? That's where we are today. You're not born with that. That takes time to build up, right, over your life experiences. And I've enjoyed it. I've been playing golf. This is my 40th year, and I know this is the 40th year that golf has been in China as well.
Yeah.
Right. 1984. It was in Zhongshan Hot Springs, right? So it's 40 years that we've been playing golf. 40 years that golf's been here in China, and it's great to see so many people loving it.
It's definitely changed since you played.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to carry my bag round for 18 holes, and then used to practice for 3 or 4 hours afterwards. And even when it was windy, the pro would say to me, "What are you doing? You should be out practicing." "Well, it's windy." "Well, go and stand behind a wall there. There's a wall down there. You can go and stand behind that wall and hit shots, can you not?" "Well, it's raining." It's raining. Well, there's a tree over there. You can go and stand under the tree and hit balls, right? That's what we did.
Nowadays, it's invaluable because rain or shine, you're still playing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Windy or not windy, you're still playing.
Yeah, I played the other day, and it was very windy.
Yeah.
But it was so enjoyable to try and hit different shots.
Yeah.
For a change.
Even in tournaments, right? Like that's what a lot of the juniors. You mentioned when you were a junior, right? Like you said, oh, but it's too sunny or it's too windy.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. The tournament still goes on, right? The competition still goes without you.
Yeah.
And so the more you practice in those conditions and the more you learn to play in those conditions.
Well, it builds resilience.
That is a big thing.
You know, I do these talks every week with the junior team. I pick a topic, a character trait. Resilience was one I did recently, you know, about the ability to come back from tough situations, right? Become a strong character. And that's how you can dig deep and find something, right? There's times where I've gone out and played golf and I've been swinging it bad, I've been hitting it bad. But you still got to find a way to get the golf ball around, right?
Yeah.
To try, not give up, right? So you're trying to instill these...
If you were unfortunate, it started on the first hole and you have 4.5 hours to go.
Best hole to make double bogey. First hole, right?
And then you got to find something from within to figure it out and not give up on it, right?
Yeah, you got to, and even if you're going to shoot a score you don't want to shoot, right? Rather shoot one shot less than one shot worse, right? Because that's a stepping stone, isn't it? Building for the improvement, right? You know, you don't want to give up because you're not going to shoot 75 or 76, right? Or I'm not going to shoot 76, so I've given up. Well, just shoot 80 instead of shooting 82 or 85. Just try to shoot the best score you can and get it round. This is the message we've got to get into young players as well, right?
I think that's what's missing in a lot, because I think a lot of kids nowadays they had it too good growing up, right? Life is different from, you know, life 30, 40 years ago, especially in China. So now kids growing up, especially the big city kids, they've got everything taken care of, nothing to worry about.
Well, it is. My kids are the same, you know. I was home in England recently, and, you know, I've not seen them for 6-7 months. And, you know, I go back and I get them in the car, and they sit in the back seat, and they don't sit there and say, "Hey, Dad, how's life? What's going on in China? You know, are you okay? How you doing? You know, tell me what's going. What did you do last week?" Or they're just on the phones like this. I'm like, "You okay?" Got my headphones on, can't hear you. And we spend 2 hours in the car driving to Wales, right? No, I went to England, I went to North Wales, I went to Dublin in Ireland. I'm driving a lot. And I'm thinking, this is great time to spend with my kids. Find out what they've been doing. You know, I've got one that's 16 years old, I've got my others 19 years old. Wow. And they're just like in their own world. You know, they're not, you know, they're just engrossed in the videos, the social media, right? And that's part of their life, isn't it? You know,
they grew up with that environment, right?
They've had phones since they were 10 years old, 11 years old, right? It's not necessarily agree with it, but it is a reality, right? And it has changed the way that, you know, I know in the PGA that we did the full-time program there, right, with Kevin, and they had to put the phones in the office, in the tin box, right? Not allowed with the phones for the whole training. Brilliant. And they didn't like it, did they?
No, not for the first week. But I think once you get into a routine of it, I think the kids, it's all a routine though, isn't it? Like once the people don't like change. Once you kind of get into a routine, you kind of go with it.
Yeah, you can live without it.
For
a short time, can't you?
Because then you build what you said, resilience, right? You build resilience to instant gratification,
and you build, you know, an element of focus and concentration, and you listen. The biggest thing is listening. And, you know, we've got 2 ears, right, and 1 mouth, so we should be able to listen twice as much as we talk. That's a good way to look at it.
That's a good advice,
right? and I think, you know, I say this to the team, junior team, right? You know, why are you here? We want to play good golf. We want to win tournaments. I want to turn pro. You know, then you've got to pay attention, and you've got to accept hardships, right? As we know, you don't learn if you set a challenge out for them and they complete it first time perfectly. What have they learnt? Not a lot.
Sorry, nothing.
Right? I did a putting training session on Sunday with the team, and I set up 5 holes on the putting green, and they had to get round no more than 2 putts. If they missed, they had to start again, right?
Yeah.
Well, there was a couple of them that finished first. Was one junior finished first time. He's he's a good player. He's a little bit older, and the others kept getting to the 3rd hole and just missing. They'd have to go back to the beginning, and they were getting more frustrated. And I said, "This is what it's about."
Which is brilliant, right? You want them to get that emotion.
When you missed that putt, what did you learn? Oh, I missed it to the right. Well, why did you miss it to the right? Do you know why? My club face open. Okay, so what are you going to do when you get the next one? Keep it square. When I hit through the putt, use the line on the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't be bothered doing that. Well, you keep missing. So why would you? If you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you get, right? You've got to change it.
I always tell my students, you spend an extra 5 seconds.
Take time to save time.
It might save you 5 minutes, right? And then going around in circles, right?
Oh, they were there for half an hour, some of them, trying to get through 5 holes, right? It wasn't easy. Our putting greens got a lot of slope in it, so it wasn't. There was long putts and medium length putts, and and then we did some bunker work with them, and it's great to see the team working as making friends and practicing together and playing together and laughing and joking together.
Because they might be competing when they're a little older, right? In the same tournaments.
Yeah, this summer we had a good summer. We had 5 juniors team members that won 9 times, number ones this summer, July and August and September. 2 of the juniors won 3 times, right? And so at the driving range now, we're in the process of getting the photos done. We're going to display them all around the driving range. We're going to display them in the teaching room. We're going to create this story, right, for everyone to see that they're doing a lot of good things. They're working hard. The families are very happy that we're giving them recognition and support and growing it. So you're going to see, like, one of my students, she's won 3 times and she's 9. So you'd put the name and the date and what the tournament was. It's history then, isn't it? It's just creating that vibe and that feeling that we're pushing in the right direction.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we had the Guangdong Junior Open here this year. I had 3 juniors win. I had a girl, Julia, she won a B group. I had Stephen won B group in the boys, and I had Ada win C group. Right, and it was great to help them, watch them. We set them all at the driving range on the big grass tee in the morning.
Yeah.
All the golf carts were there, ready to go out onto the course. I went there. We were open at 5:30, right? And we went there and I worked with the junior team, right, for a few minutes before they went and played. And we went out and we supported them around the course, and we, spent time with the families. So give the time to grow it. Yeah.
So what would you say, this question has actually come in from our last podcaster. What would you say your biggest coaching philosophy is, and has it evolved over the years, especially in China?
Yeah, I mean, I was one that always took the common denominators from all the famous coaches, learned from how they looked at golf swings. The time I've spent in China, it's changed, especially the last few years before here. We're spending time with Kevin, just more systematically for the player that wants to develop good technique and good swings. Right, it works. Right, what you teach, if you teach in that systematic way, the positioning of the club and the positioning of the body and the sequence of the golf swing, that is all things that are proven to work now. So that's what I don't use a specific teaching style,
Yeah.
right? Like there's some out there, you know. We've had things like, you know, the A swing, and we've had things like the stack and tilt motion. I don't follow those. More holistic, more natural, based around the correct fundamentals.
One of the traditions, just like how you were asked from the last podcaster, one of the tradition is to ask a question for the next podcasters where we're going to interview. Doesn't have to be golf related, but what would your question be?
What's the biggest thing they've got out of golf in their life?
That's going to be different from everybody then.
But I think it'd be good to find out. All right.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'd like to. Yeah, I could ask. Yeah, let's ask that.
That's awesome. And one of the things it's quite interesting because we're in a very interesting industry in the golf industry, and you know I'm very blessed to do what we get to do, especially out here in China. But if you weren't in the golf industry, where do you think you would be?
Well, if I could see at the time, I'd have been in the fire service for sure.
Right.
Right. That's what I would have. I wouldn't even thought about golf.
Okay.
You know, back in the day, when you did your fire service training, as a trainee at 18 years old, you got £250 a week. Right. It was a lot of money, and it was a great career. It's a great career. And there's a lot of selfless people do that job, right? Like doctors, like nurses, and all the rest. And you know, I wanted to help. I wanted to do good.
Yeah.
All right, which is why in golf, that's the biggest thing I've got out of golf is learn to be selfless.
Yeah.
Learn to give more than I get.
Yeah.
All right. I would have probably been in the fire service
But,
or a professional cricketer.
Okay.
But then again, you know.
But as one door closes, another one opens, which is golf.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, we're getting towards the end of our podcast. We've got rapid fire questions. Whatever comes to mind. Rapid fire questions. If you could only play one golf course the rest of your life, which one would it be?
Does this have to be? This is not rapid fire. This one because is this a golf course that I've played in the past?
Well, it doesn't have to be.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wow. Go back to that. That's a tough one.
Would you rather have perfect putting skills or hit the longest drives in the world?
Putting.
If you could have dinner with any golfer, past or present, who would it be?
Wow. Ben Hogan and Seve.
What's your favorite snack to have during a round of golf?
Energy bar.
If you could instantly master any other sport, which one could it be?
I don't think you can master any other sport, can you? Huh?
What's the most unusual superstition you have on the golf course?
Don't have one.
Is there a particular
Nothing.
routine that you would
Nope.
do
Nothing.
before a round?
Nothing.
Wow. Would you rather play in extreme heat or extreme cold?
Ooh. Well, I've done both, and I think extreme heat, because I go blue if it gets too cold, and I can't hold the club, right? So I'd rather hold the club than not be able to feel my hands. Yeah.
Who's your favorite golf buddy to play a casual round with?
Wow. Favorite golf buddy? It would have to be Mr. Andrew Smith. Yeah. I don't play enough with him.
Shout out to Andrew. If you could design your own golf club, what special feature would you have on it? Would you have something more
Color.
Color.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, a lot of golf courses are very green.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think to have lots of color, like the tree lines and the framing of the green, right? And the tee, behind the tees, to be able to have different, you know, trees and color that come out in different times of the year. That would be great. So in the winter you'd see a purple color, right? And in the summer you'd see pinks and whites, and with that to have each hole to have some kind of, you know, aspect to that.
Okay.
To be able, you know, so many months of the year would be great.
Well, it's been great having you on this podcast. love to do this again.
Yeah.
If you have the chance. I know you're getting busier and busier as well, but would love to have you on again.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Jason.
Thank
Nice
you.
to see you. Thank you.